Investigation into the New Year's Day Cybertruck blast outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. This morning, we're hearing from the ex-girlfriend of the Green Beret identified as the driver. Mola Lenghi joins us with that story. Good morning, Mola.
So we all know about the missing or the dead scientists, which I believe the number is up to 16 now. I spoke with somebody on the phone, okay, who used to work in Norad. And if you don't know what Norad is, I'm going to tell you and break that down for you. He gave me some names that one, I never heard of. The other, I really didn't pay attention to at that time. For example, do you remember the person who was driving a Tesla Cybertruck?
Behind by Army soldier Matthew Livelsberger.
This is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves.
That blew up in front of the Trump Towers? Well, the person I spoke to said this man by the name of Matthew who was driving that truck could be connected. I'm going to explain that to you. And not only that, he gave me some information on underground tunnels, underground bases, and where these scientists could be, because he thinks that some of them could be alive still.
Superconductor can produce the observed AC gravity. The AC gravity can let us control it. So if you want to produce AC gravity, you need 3 conditions. One, you must have the superconductor become the tools.
Stay tuned, Fugitive TV. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel. And what we do here is we take a look at cases of missing individuals, cases that sometimes need a bigger spotlight. And what we do is we sometimes will give you a different perspective on the situation, the case. We will look at it deeper than what the big media is giving you. And sometimes our perspective is going to be different because, see, I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I was on the run for 15 years, living in different countries under different names before I turned myself in. Now, being on the run, I got access to, as you want to call, the underground world, people associated with it and things like that. So because of that, I was able to make some connections that a lot of regular people cannot make. And sometimes I use those connections to give you more information on certain cases or individuals. Well, I already did one video on, we all know about the missing scientists or the scientists that are no longer with us anymore. Now, in a video I did prior to this one, I talked about a case of a young lady that went missing years ago. We're talking about almost 3 decades ago. And I labeled that, could she have been one of the first people associated with this case, even though it was decades ago? Well, right now, what we're going to get into is we're going to get into a interview I did with somebody on the phone. Now, this person that I interviewed, okay, it was a good conversation. It lasted about 28 minutes, 27 minutes. And the person I spoke to, I cannot reveal who they are. And to be honest with you, technically, I don't even know exactly who they are. They want to keep their information private, which I understand. All right. And I even had to talk to them through a third-party app. Okay. Now, I know somebody personally that used to work in the Norad Mountain. Now, if you guys don't know what the Norad Mountain is a mountain, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly what Norad is. But just to give you a gist of it, Norad is a mountain that's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now, this mountain is built to withstand nuclear bombs, missiles. Matter of fact, I don't know if the president will still go there, but I do know a couple decades ago, if let's say World War III broke out, the president would go there for safety. Now, I'm pretty sure they probably could still take him there, right? But it would go there for safety.
Gives us a rare tour inside the command center NORAD and Northcom in Colorado Springs.
It is a potential doomsday scenario. Their job to nip it in the bud. Beneath the ground at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs is the Operations Center for NORAD and Northcom.
We protect the homeland.
From right here.
We protect the homeland from here.
We got a rare look at how the U.S. is being protected.
Is getting a rare look inside a giant military facility tucked into a mountain. The top secret Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado Springs can withstand a nuclear attack. It's like a mini underground city, an engineering marvel.
On the outside, it looks like your typical mountain, but inside is one of the most advanced military installations ever.
We were designed for a nuclear blast.
Stephen Rose is the deputy director for the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, which houses 13 Department of Defense agencies.
There's even an insert in a movie. The movie was called, I believe, if I remember correctly, Some of Our Fears. And I don't remember all the actors in Some of Our Fears. I think one of them might have been Samuel Jackson, I think. I don't remember. But there was a scene in that movie, in the very beginning of the movie, where we are in a heated, as you want to say, conversation with the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union says, we're going to launch our missiles and point them at NORAD, okay? Because NORAD controls a lot of our self-defense, missiles, submarines. A lot of things come from NORAD. And like I said, we're going to get a little bit more into what NORAD is. Well, I personally know somebody that worked in NORAD, okay? They worked there for 6 years, all right? Well, because I knew this person personally, all right, they set me up with this other individual that worked in NORAD, and they had a lot of top secret clearance, okay? And this individual has reached out to some other big media. Now, they did tell me the big media that they reached out to, well, I should say the media contacted him first, all right? Not him directly, but I guess through a third party of some sort. And when he contacted them back, some of these big media sources, it wasn't a lot. It was like a few that found out him and who he was and if they can probably get information. They wanted him to do an interview, first of all, with him on camera. He said, no, he's not doing it. I'm sorry. They wanted him to do an interview, at least over the phone, showing his voice. He said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. You reached out to me. This is going to be my terms. Now, he said he did do an interview with a media source. He wouldn't tell me who the source is. So they might come out with this interview. He does not know, because he said he did a phone interview with them as well. And they're going to see how that goes. Now, the reason why he's coming out now and saying anything is because he feels he feels that he's in a place to where he is safe and he can talk about topics, certain things, without any repercussions to him. Now, what he did do was, like I said, he worked in NORAD, but he had top secret clearance, okay? Now, he worked in intelligence. And what he would do was, NORAD wasn't the only place he worked. He worked in other underground facilities, okay? Other underground facilities that was called DUMBs. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what those are. We're going to get into that, all right? But he worked in other underground facilities that was called DUMBs. And not only that, worked with some other third-party private sector groups that worked with the military. One of them, Lockheed Martin, okay? I don't know if you know who they are, but they are the world's #1 private, all right? Pretty much defense company, okay? They have programs called Skunk Works, Shadow Works, and we're going to get into all this and why some of these programs could be linked to some of these missing scientists and some of these scientists who they say are no longer with us. But he also dropped some names. He said for me to look up some of these names, okay? He said if I look up some of these names might have a connection to what's going on now. Now, one of the names we're going to look up, okay, is Matthew. Matthew was the person who was driving the Tesla Cybertruck. Do you remember the Tesla Cybertruck incident? I believe it happened on New Year's Day. He drove the truck to Trump Towers in Las Vegas. Remember the truck blew up? You guys remember that? He dropped his name and said, look into him. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some of the reasons of why he said look into him. All right, so I did a lot of digging on Matthew, okay? Because like I said, I knew who he was. Okay, his name is Matthew. I believe it's pronounced Livelsberger. I knew who he was. Okay, and I knew he was the person that drove the Cybertruck in front of the Trump Towers. I knew that he was military. I didn't know to the extent of his military background, which we're going to get into, okay? And I knew what the news told us of why he did what he did, all right? Or possibly why he did what he did. But I didn't know there was an underlying background to him. And now the people that did find the underlying background to him, it could possibly be associated to what's going on right now, all right? So Matthew Livelsberger, a Green Beret and main suspect in the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas, shared his concerning theory about China and the mystery drones that have plagued the East Coast last year, according to his alleged manifesto that another former soldier said he's received. Now, you guys remember the whole Chinese drone thing? Remember the Chinese balloon? The Chinese balloon that supposedly we shot down. It was flying. It flew from China over Canada and all kind of things. You remember this?
This morning, new details about what that Chinese spy balloon was doing as it traveled over the U.S. in February. In exclusive reporting by NBC News, the airship China claims was just a weather balloon was able to gather intelligence passing over sensitive U.S. military sites. According to two current and one former senior official, the balloon was being maneuvered from China, even steered in a figure-8 pattern at times, and collected electronic signals detected from U.S. bases and weapon systems.
So that's part of it, okay? Newsweek has reached out to Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Department of Defense for comment via email. Then it says why it matters, all right? Livelsberg, 37, died in an explosion outside a Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas on New Year's Day. The explosion also injured multiple people in the surrounding area. Police say the damage could have been worse if the Cybertruck had not contained much of the explosion. In an email alleged to have been sent by Livelsberg a day before the explosion, he claimed to have a theory behind the multiple drone sightings that occurred in November and December 2024. The sightings sparked widespread public concern and gave rise to multiple conspiracy theories. All right. Sam Shoemate, a former intelligence officer and retired chief warrant officer with the U.S. Army, claimed to have received the email from Livelsberger during his Friday appearance on Sean Ryan's show, a podcast with more than 3 million subscribers on YouTube. Ryan, a former Navy SEAL who also has 1 million followers on Instagram, including to Joe Rogan and Ivanka Trump, shared the email social media that they purported to be from Livelsberger. In his alleged email manifesto, according to Shoemate, Livelsberger warned that the drones spotted across the East Coast last year posed the most dangerous threat to the national security that has ever existed. The email warned that drones are sent from China and basically have an unlimited payload capacity, can park it over the White House if they want it. It's checkmate. The alleged email stated that the drones were being used in a similar fashion in the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down off the coast of South Carolina in 2023 as both a show of force and for surveillance. And that's the balloon that I just showed you guys, okay, that was shot down. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recent China in the East Coast. But throughout history, the US only we in China have this capability. The alleged email reads, China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. The alleged email urged the US government to publicly share the information they have on Beijing's use of drones and warned China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security said in a joint statement last month that there was no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. Livelsberg had some experience with drones after he accepted a role as a remote anonymous systems manager while stationed at Camp Panzer Kasserine, just southwest of Stuttgart, Germany in November 2024. In that job, he helped to, it says, integrate drones into the army and ensured they were operated and maintained to a sufficient standard. So that basically they're saying he already has knowledge of drones, of how to fly them and how to operate them. He allegedly also mentions being armed and having a massive V-bead, a military acronym for a car bomb. A car bomb, guys. Remember, he blew up the Tesla Cybertruck, apparently with himself inside the truck. The decorated soldier was found to have died from a suspected self-inflicted gunshot wound to his skull. Among the charred items found inside the Cybertruck were a handgun at Livelsberg's feet, another firearm, fireworks, a passport, military ID, credit cards, an iPhone, and a smartwatch. Now, if you guys remember this, I do remember that they said the fire inside the Cybertruck was so bad that he was charred really bad to where you couldn't even see who he was, what he was, or anything. That was how bad he was charred up. But for some reason, his military ID, passport, and credit cards were not charred. Now, at the time, I really didn't pay attention to this. But as the person I spoke to on the phone, he brought that up. He said, you don't find it interesting that everything inside the truck was burnt to a crisp, but his military ID, passport, and credit cards, things that can identify who he is, for some reason, was not charred up. Okay? And why did he apparently off himself before the explosion even happened? Was it because he didn't want to feel the pain? You know? So I'm going to get into more of what he possibly said. China has been launching them from now this is the full manifesto, okay? Now here is the manifesto in full. It says, in case I do not make it to my decision, point on to the Mexico border. I am sending this now. Please do not release until January 1st and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 Black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered by aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast. But throughout history, the US, only we in China have this capability. Our OPCNN location for this activity in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force. They are using it similar to how they use the balloon for significant and ISR, which are also part of the interrogated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what? Because of the speed and stuff of these unmanned AC, they are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they want it. It's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this and how we are employing and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been following for over a week now. From likely homeland or actually he's saying he's been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and have a massive VBID. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Now, he says he has a massive VBID. If you remember up here, VBID, a military acronym for a car bomb. He's saying he has a massive one. Okay? So he's saying he has a massive one. Now let's continue reading. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during the airstrikes in Numros Province, Afghanistan, 2019 by the admin Department of Homeland Security or Department of Defense, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes. Over 125 buildings, 65 were struck because of CIVCAS. That killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. Wow. US FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft and CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover up with US FORA, an agent redacted of the DA. So I don't know if any abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with General Miller's IO staff on this, as well as the response to Bala Markaf. AOB-commander at the time, which is redacted, can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we can avoid a world war, because this is a mutually ensured destruction situation. For vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livesberger. Active duty 18Z out of 110 profiles public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP and USAP access. This right here, okay? This is his ID that was found inside the Tesla truck where he was burnt to a crisp, people. But look at the ID. Look at the ID. So he was burnt to a crisp, but the ID looks like maybe somebody held a lighter to it in a few spots. Very interesting, right? Now I'm going to read to you just a quick of what NBC said, all right? You see NBC is going to be totally different. Cybertruck driver used ChatGPT to plan Las Vegas attack, police say. Las Vegas, police found a 6-page manifesto on Matthew Liverberg's phone and said he used ChatGPT to plan his New Year's Day bombing at the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. Sheriff Kevin McHale said at a news conference Tuesday, Livelsberger, 37, who offed himself in the head just before fireworks and other explosive material detonated in the back of a Tesla Cybertruck parked at the front entrance of the hotel. Livelsberger, a Green Beret in the U.S. Army Special Forces, was home on leave in Colorado Springs, Colorado, people, where Cheyenne Mountain is. You also have the military base there, okay? You have that there too, which is right by. The Army base is right next to Norad or Cheyenne Mountain, because Norad is technically in Cheyenne Mountain, all right? So he rented the Cybertruck and drove to Las Vegas. The explosion was set off using racing fuel and birdshot, and the ATF said Tuesday. The blast was not triggered by a detonator, but by an unknown flame, which could include the shot, which he used to do himself. Police suspected Livelsberger initially planned on attack at the Grand Canyon, potentially to launch off the glass skywalk there. But the verdict Las Vegas police said based off more documents discovered on his phone. During a news conference last week, the FBI special agent in charge, Spencer Evans, said Livelsberg didn't hold any animosity toward President-elect Trump or Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk. In a manifesto, police found a various grievance, including political and social issues, such as criticism of the current administration. All right? Livelsberger wrote he had graphic encounters, replying in his head from Army that he only intended to harm himself. And basically it goes on to say that he used ChatGPT, he had PSD, It also says a few of the entries posted in the application included how much tannerite is equivalent to 1 pound of TNE and what a pistol could set off. Now, at this time, he wrote and sent that email saying he had a massive bomb inside the truck. And that's why they knew, but you know, that he was saying he's probably gonna go to Mexico and they've been following him for a week, but they knew he probably has a massive bomb. So during that time, they said he set this bomb with a bunch of fireworks and things like that. Now, I don't know how to make any of these things, so I really don't know, right? Come to find out, after watching some interviews about him and about some other either ex-Green Beret or people who specialized in military, they were not so sure of this whole situation of what the big media was telling us. Now, for example, there's an interview on Vlad TV with Nicholas Irvin. Nicholas Irvin is one of the world's most dangerous men. He's probably the most successful sniper that is living right now. He has multiple bodies, okay? Multiple bodies. Very dangerous person, has been overseas plenty of times, you know, doing his thing in the military. Well, he goes on interviews and does interviews now about it. Well, what Nicholas Irvin said, which I'm going to read to you, says he was Green Beret and a team sergeant. He has to put in some time for that. He is in charge of the home team, meaning he calls the shots. So he's saying you don't just sign up to be a Green Beret and you become a sergeant. He said you have to put in some time in that. You got to put in some years before they make you a person who can, you know, you're calling the shots. You're in charge of the whole team. And then he goes, what Green Berets usually do is they specialize in using their hands. They can do almost anything with their hands. Hand-to-hand combat. A team of Green Berets, even if it's only 5 of them, are trained to take over a small country. One person can disassemble any sort of pistol or weapon that's ever been created and also know how to put it together. Then you have a demolition guy. Now, this person, Matthew, who blew up the Cybertruck with himself in it, he was the demolitions guy. All right. Now, he said the fireworks he used was suspect. The fireworks that he used to blow the truck up and himself was suspect. Nicholas went on to say there are 12-year-olds in the Middle East that can make a better bomb than what he did. All right. He said that he could have made a 30-minute stop at Home Depot with his training and took the whole building down if he really wanted to. Now, he says he does understand maybe it was done not to hurt other people. That's why the Cybertruck was used, to contain it. Because you got to remember, the Cybertruck is bulletproof to a certain consent. So, or I think it's up to a 9mm or something like that. Cybertruck is bulletproof. So meaning on the outside is bulletproof, so it can maintain a certain amount of fire explosion on the inside. So that part he said he understood. But what he didn't understand was why he chose to do this. And he said not only that, but how he terminated himself and allegedly from just the shot of the weapon can set off the whole fire. Now, during a podcast who talked about everything I read to you about the manifesto, the guy who got the email from Matthew, the guy said, which is true, you could rent a Cybertruck. It's a Tesla. Okay. Put a body inside of it, an unknown body that's already not living. It can drive itself. Send it to the Trump Towers and then have it detonate. There is no theory that can say otherwise that this cannot happen. So it is possible that this can happen. And then they went on to say that he could be alive somewhere. And the reason why they're saying that is because after his death, he was using an app called Signal, which I have Signal. So he's using an app called Signal. allegedly his signal, his safety code changed after his death. Okay, and a picture was uploaded after everything happened. I don't know, but this is allegedly what happened. All right. So some people are speculating that he could still be alive. Now, the person I spoke to who told me to look this man up in the first place, the one that I did the 28-minute interview with, he said that he could still be alive. He said some of these scientists who are missing could still be alive. This is the reason why he said they could still be alive. He said that when he worked in these DUMBs, which I'm going to break down what these DUMBs are. Matter of fact, let me tell you what these are right now. So DUMBs, DUMBS, all right, stands for Deep Underground Military Bases, all right? And he said that these DUMBs could be positioned strategically everywhere, especially along Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada. Now, I don't know if you know that, but all those states connect. He also said that a lot of these DUMBs will connect with each other, meaning there will be underground tunnels that will connect one base, okay, to another base. Norad, that mountain that's in Cheyenne Mountain, is nothing but a city inside of the mountain with underground tunnels where you can get into the tunnel, into the Norad and out of the Norad, okay? What he said was, how do you think the president will get there? You think he's just gonna fly and they're gonna let him through the main entrance? No, he's gonna fly somewhere else, use an underground system to get to the city. That way you never know he was even in the tunnel or in the city. And if he left, he would leave through a different tunnel. So he said some of these tunnels would connect to these different DUMBs. Now, he also said that, not only that, but the underground bases, the DUMBs, would contain people who worked in them, okay? He said, especially the ones, there was a couple of them that were in New Mexico, all right, and Nevada. He said some of these scientists down there have not seen daylight for years. Okay? He would go down there and they would ask him, what's it like out on the surface? What's it like? They have not seen daylight. Some of these scientists will be working on reverse engineering. In case you guys don't know what reverse engineering is, it's pretty much taking something, okay, that's already been engineered, already been put together, and it works. And now you're taking it apart to figure out how it works. Reverse engineering. So somebody engineer it, put it together to make it work, and then you're taking it apart to figure out what engineering went into it to make it work. You get what I'm saying? So he said some of these scientists are working on reverse engineering. Some of them are working on objects or weapons that we would consider, okay, not made by human. And they're using that technology or using it to put something together. And this is how you come up with some of these drones, some of these balloons, some of these aircraft that can move, you know, that we're just now seeing videos of, right? I mean, there is always videos, but now they're putting out these grainy pictures and stuff like that of these UFOs, or what they call, this whole different name now of them, to, you know, use anti-gravity to fly. Now, if you type in Google anti-gravity, Google's going to tell you, as of right now, we don't have any aircraft that can do that. But what he's saying is Google's lying to you. There is aircraft that can do that. There's proof. And we have scientists right now that is working and building on it. Okay. Some of these scientists, he said, are dead to their family, or missing to their family, missing for years. Really, they're just in an underground base working. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? So, if this is something they did decades ago, okay? Decades ago, could this be going on now? Because think about it. If this happened decades ago, let's say 70s, 80s, whatever, this happened a long time ago. A lot of these underground bases were built in the 40s and 50s, all right? So if this happened decades ago, think about those scientists that had to work in there, and if they were missing at the time, there was no social media, nothing like that, just a newspaper, right? So it probably didn't spread like that. Some of you didn't really have a lot of TV out there. It was black and white TV. TV really didn't hit the home, you know, which was everybody could afford the TV until the late 50s, okay? Back in the 50s, you had to have some money to have a TV, or if that, you're listening to the radio. So if somebody went missing, a lot of people didn't realize it probably because you didn't have the spread of information like you do now. Back then, it was pretty much just on the side of a milk cart. Well, if you have those scientists that went missing then, think about it. They can't live forever, right? They got to die. They got to pass away. They can't live forever. Once they die, who is taking their spot? Who's taking their position? Technology advances. So who's taking their spot when the technology advances? Somebody who's more familiar with the new technology. So like that general that went missing, and we all heard the 911 call. His name was what was it? General William Neil McCaslin. We all heard the 911 call where his wife said she went to, you know, the doctor's office, came back, and it was like he didn't want to be found. Remember that? And he kind of just vanished. Okay, just vanished out of nowhere. All right. And he held deeply classified positions during his career, including commanding the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which had long been tied to UFOs lore. His highly unusual disappearance has sparked significant national attention and speculation. So the man's missing. We still can't find him. Canines, nobody picked up on his scent, allegedly. His wife even said on 911 calls like he didn't want to be found. This guy on the phone is telling me that this has been going on for decades. Decades. He said a lot of this started with Dr. Ning Li.
These two fields cannot talk each other because they're different level. But how they can, I found just a superconductor, make they are the same level, not a strong field, not a weak field, it's the same field. How they can do it? Let us talk about. Look, this is the mass, this is the charge. That's all. Superconductor can produce the observed AC gravity. The AC gravity can let us control it. You know, so if you want to produce AC gravity, you need 3 conditions. One, you must have the superconductor become the tools. Second, you must have the AC EM energy source to supply this source. Third, this.
Make sure I'm pronouncing her name right, which I've never heard of this name. And 2, he brought it up to me. Dr. Ning Li. Okay. Who was known for her research in anti-gravity in the 1990s. Li worked as a research scientist at the Center for Space, Plasma, and Aeronautics Research at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. How many people right now of these scientists that are connected with Alabama? I don't know. I don't have this scripted right now because I'm just reading researching what he told me to research. So you guys can see this in real time, okay? So right now, what I'm doing is I'm looking up who all went missing that is associated with Alabama. And I put Alabama scientists missing, okay? And here, let's all look at this right now. See what this says. It says, federal agencies and Congress are investigating a string of mysterious deaths and disappearances involving U.S. scientists, including 2 cases in Huntsville, Alabama, linked to advanced aerospace and nuclear propulsion research. Joshua LeBlanc, 29-year-old NASA aerospace electrical engineer specializing in nuclear propulsion, he was reported missing by his family in July 2025 and was later found dead after his Tesla crashed and caught fire in a rural area outside Huntsville. Amy Eskridge, a 34-year-old aerospace researcher and co-founder of the Institute for Exotic Science, which focused on experimental anti-gravity and propulsion concepts, she died in 2022 of a self-inflicted wound of a weapon, okay? But her case has been recently resurfaced in federal probes and online discussions, okay? So, Dr. Lee was doing this in Huntsville, Alabama, back in the 90s, all right? And the thing with her is we don't know what happened to her. We don't know. But the guy on the phone did tell me, he said she discovered something that would change the way aerospace and technology forever is what she discovered. You guys remember the Tic Tac video? The video of the Tic Tac? Let's refresh your memory.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not her LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating. Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger, there's troubleshooting. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay.
He says the reason for this Tic Tac video could be because of her. Like I said, I couldn't talk with this man face to face. I couldn't even get any information from him to even verify. That's how secretive this man is, which I don't blame him. And like I said, he actually worked with Lockheed Martin, okay? They were doing, it was called Skunks work, all right? Which I'm going to tell you what that is real quick. So Lockheed Martin Skunks Works, officially known as the Advanced Development Programs, is a legendary R&D division famous for creating cutting-edge, highly classified aerospace technology, often associated with the term shadow works or black projects. Skunk Works operates in extreme secrecy with highly anonymous elite teams of engineers to rapidly build revolutionary aircraft. Okay? Aircraft. Lockheed Martin. This man allegedly worked in the military, but his job was to work closely with the engineers of Skunks Work and Shadow Works. He said they have some of the most advanced technology that we are using right now known to man. It's not the military who did this, it is Lockheed Martin. And a lot of their work stemmed from the work of Dr. Ning Lee. And a lot of their work nowadays come from new age scientists who are still working on the same thing that Dr. Ning Lee was working on. Very interesting. Now, I'm not done with what he told me, okay? I don't want to give you guys way too much at one time. So the next video, we're going to get into exactly what Dr. Ning Ling discovered, what she found. We're going to get into exactly what Lockheed Martin was doing with ShadowWorks and Skunkworks, what they created, what they invented, what's being used now. All right. Plus some other things that can connect the missing and dead scientists that are going on right now to way back then, to all of this. Why isn't the big media not talking about any of this? I don't know. This is Fugitive TV. So until next time, please like and subscribe, okay? Especially if you want to see the next episode. Not only that, take care of one another, love one another. Until next time, this is Fugitive TV. I'm out.